You know, today's deep dive, it's a little different. It's not about some breaking news story or some crazy new scientific discovery.
Right.
This one's really personal.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a story that kind of left me feeling pretty emotional when I first heard it. We're going to hear from someone who's basically spent their whole life dealing with like the shadow of a golden child.
Yeah.
You know?
It's more common than we realize.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But these family dynamics, they play out all the time.
Mhm.
And I think what's really striking about this story in particular is just the raw honesty of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're reading someone's diary.
Yeah, it really is.
Full of all this like frustration and resentment. But then there's this incredible journey of self-discovery, too.
It is. And you know, the thing that I found really fascinating about it was that they didn't shy away from, all these complicated feelings that they had. Like, they obviously love their brother.
Of course.
But there's all this tension underneath.
Yeah.
This feeling of never quite measuring up to him in their parents' eyes.
Right.
It's almost like they've been carrying this weight, like literally their entire life.
Well, and that's what we're going to explore today.
Yeah.
How these early family dynamics, particularly when there's like favoritism involved, how that can have such a lasting impact on our self-worth and then our relationships as adults.
It's so true. All right, so let's dive in. So the story starts in childhood.
Yeah.
Right away, we see this pattern emerge. They're the responsible one.
Yeah.
The one who's always trying to please everybody.
Right.
Always working hard, but never quite getting the same recognition as their brother.
Yeah, they're stuck in this role they didn't even ask for.
Exactly.
And they're constantly trying to prove themselves,
Mhm.
but it's never enough.
There's this one example that really stuck with me, where they talked about working part-time jobs when they were in high school just to help their family,
Right.
make ends meet.
Right.
But if anything in the house went wrong,
Oh, gosh.
it was somehow their responsibility. It was their fault.
That's fascinating.
I know.
Because it speaks to this bigger pattern. When someone's constantly made to feel responsible for things that are out of their control,
Right.
it just creates this like deep sense of guilt and inadequacy.
It does. And meanwhile,
Yeah.
the brother gets a free pass.
It's like he can do no wrong.
Yeah, it's like he can do no wrong in their parents' eyes. And that parental favoritism,
Yeah.
even if it's unintentional, it creates like this,
Hierarchy.
Yeah.
Where one child's needs are constantly prioritized
always.
and the other one,
Yes.
it impacts their sense of self.
It's so sad because you can just sense that the narrator just wants that connection with their brother,
Right.
and they want that validation from their parents.
Yeah.
But there's this invisible wall there.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder,
I know.
for everyone listening, have you ever felt like you've been living in someone's shadow? Like you're constantly trying to get that recognition,
Yeah.
but it never comes.
And it sticks with you,
Oh, it does.
even after you leave home. And as we go through the rest of their story,
Mhm.
we're going to see how these early experiences really shaped, the relationships they had in adulthood and the choices they made.
Yeah, because we often see that people who've grown up feeling unseen
Yes.
or undervalued in their families, they unconsciously seek out those same dynamics in their relationships as adults.
We're drawn to what we know,
We are,
even if it's not good for us.
even if it's unhealthy.
And that's exactly what happens when their brother, out of nowhere, asks if he can move in.
For a while.
Yeah, just for a while.
A temporary situation.
But, we've all heard that before.
Right, and of course it's a pivotal moment
Oh, yeah.
because it sets in motion all these events that force them to confront all those feelings of obligation
Mm-hmm.
and the resentment that they've been carrying for so long.
So initially they agree, right? They see it as a chance to finally connect with their brother,
Yeah.
be there for him in a way that they maybe couldn't be when they were younger. It's like they're trying to rewrite their childhood, be the hero in their own story.
There's a psychological component there too. We often try to fix or prove ourselves to the people who haven't valued us, hoping that maybe this time it'll be different.
Like, give them another chance.
Exactly.
But as we'll see, that hope
Right.
can be really misplaced.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the hardest lesson to learn is that we can't change other people.
We can't.
We can only change ourselves.
Right. So the brother moves in, and at first it seems okay, like manageable.
Yeah.
It's just for a few weeks,
He just needs to get back on his feet.
Right, right.
Hmm.
The classic temporary situation.
But haven't we all been there?
Oh, we have?
Like, you can already hear those warning bells.
You can.
Can't you?
Oh,
Like, deep down.
like it's not going to be a few weeks. It's going to be much longer.
And of course,
That is it.
it stretches into months.
Months.
And, they're back in that role again. They're the responsible one. They're the one picking up the slack, always putting their own needs second. It's like watching a slow-motion train wreck. You can just feel the resentment building.
Oh, yeah.
The frustration bubbling up.
And it's interesting because they start to realize
Yeah.
it's not just the brother.
Right.
It's the whole family.
It's the whole dynamic.
Yeah, like the parents are enabling this.
Oh, totally.
Whether they realize it or not,
It's that whole...
they're enabling those same patterns.
Yes. And there's that scene where the brother's just sprawled out on the couch. Hasn't helped out around the house at all.
Yeah.
And just casually announces that he's going to stay a bit longer.
Oh, gosh.
And the parents are on the phone, with someone, and they're like, oh, that's great. You two are getting along so well.
It's like they're blind
Yeah.
to how much this is impacting the narrator.
Completely oblivious.
And that lack of awareness.
It hurts.
It's so invalidating.
Like a punch to the gut.
It is.
And it's at that moment that they start to question everything. Their role in the family, their relationship with their brother, like even their own sense of self.
This is where we get into emotional inheritance.
Oh, yeah.
We inherit not just physical traits from our families,
Right.
but emotional patterns.
Oh, for sure.
Ways of relating, expectations. It's like an inheritance.
It really is.
And sometimes it can be harmful.
We're carrying around these scripts
Yeah.
from generations past.
They tell us how to behave, how to act.
And breaking free from those scripts.
Too hard.
It requires you to question everything.
Everything.
You thought you knew about yourself and your family.
Absolutely.
And that's what they start to do. They start to challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
They start to set boundaries. Small at first,
Okay.
but gradually more firm.
Good.
They start saying no more often,
Yeah.
putting their own needs first.
And that's where the conflict comes in.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you disrupt those dynamics, there's going to be pushback.
Oh, big time.
There is.
The brother, he's used to getting his way.
Of course.
Throws a tantrum.
All right.
The parents start with the guilt trips. Family comes first.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they're trying to pull the narrator back into that role.
Back into that box.
Yeah, that subservient role.
It's a classic power struggle.
It is.
The family system's trying to maintain that equilibrium, even if it's based on dysfunction.
And it's a battle on two fronts for them.
It is.
They're fighting against their own sense of obligation.
Yeah.
All those years of conditioning.
Right.
Telling them that they have to be the good one.
The helpful one.
The one who puts everyone else first.
And they're also fighting against the external pressure.
Yes.
From the family.
Yeah.
Who are threatened by this new assertiveness.
It's got to be exhausting.
It is.
It's so draining.
It takes a lot of courage.
It does.
To stand your ground.
It really does. And the amazing thing is...
They do it.
They do.
Yeah.
They don't back down. They make the decision to put their own well-being first.
Yeah.
Even if it means disrupting the family peace.
It's a big choice.
It is. But it comes at a cost.
It does.
Because choosing yourself when it means like going against what your family expects of you.
It's hard.
It's got to feel so lonely.
It can. And in this case, it is. Because even after the brother moves out, it wasn't exactly a graceful exit, more like a huff, really. But even after he's gone, the parents, they don't let up.
Like they just keep going at it.
The pressure is relentless.
Yeah.
The phone calls, the texts.
All about how they made this huge mistake and family sticks together and how could you do this?
Oh, it's all guilt trips.
So much guilt.
This shows how ingrained these roles are.
Yeah.
For the parents, the narrator is still the fixer, the one who makes everyone happy, the one who smooths everything over, even if it hurts them.
It's like they don't get it at all.
They don't.
That the narrator has their own needs and limits.
Exactly. And this is where we see real growth.
Because they don't give in.
They don't. They stick to their boundaries.
Even though it's so hard.
So hard. They talk about feeling physically sick from the stress.
Oh, wow.
Panic attacks, trouble sleeping, all the signs of burnout.
It's a good reminder for all of us that self-care isn't selfish.
Right.
It's essential. Sometimes you have to step away from the people who are just draining you.
Yeah.
Taking all your energy.
Absolutely. And for the narrator, stepping away means something pretty big.
What do?
They cut off contact.
Wow. With everyone.
With the brother and the parents.
I can't even imagine how hard that must have been.
It's a decision a lot of people wouldn't understand. But it's about survival. It's about healing and breaking free.
They need that space.
They need it to breathe, to figure out who they are without those family roles.
Like they're finally free.
They are. And that freedom is what allows them to heal.
It all comes back to that emotional inheritance thing.
Right.
If we inherit these bad patterns, does that mean we're stuck with them forever?
Not necessarily. Awareness is the key.
Oh,
Once you see the pattern, you can choose to break it. It's not easy,
it's not.
but it can be done.
So for anyone listening who relates to this story,
Yeah.
who feels trapped in their family, what's the first step?
Acknowledge your feelings. Don't judge yourself for feeling resentful or angry or hurt.
They're valid feelings.
They are. They're telling you something needs to change.
So what do you do then?
You set boundaries. Start small.
Okay.
Say no to things.
Yeah.
Prioritize your own time.
And if those boundaries aren't respected,
Then you have a choice. You can stay and keep getting hurt, or you can walk away and take care of yourself.
that's powerful.
Yeah.
You know, this whole story, it's a reminder that sometimes the most loving thing you can do
For yourself and for your family.
is to create some distance.
That's right. The narrator's story shows us how strong the human spirit can be. It reminds us that we can choose our own path, even if it means going against what other people expect.
Well, that was an emotional one. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back next time with more stories and things to make you think.
See you then.
Take care.